The neutron, when it divides like two jets. It goes out and then it splits. Can you see it? Nobody pops. Yes. Okay. Is it okay now? I think it's the sign of my heart. My heart is popping too. Is it better? So what you see so far, it moves, yeah. Okay. So you have a neutron which splits. It loses its gravitational magnetic field balance, magnetical field balance, and then it opens up. In opening, it splits into two parts, proton, and one becomes. And this does not become a balloon in one go. What happens, this carries on moving, and in reducing its speed, it creates its own field around the center, and in motion, it creates its own gravitational magnetic field upwards and inwards. So, till it finds its balance, and it takes its last shape, the final shape. So, in fact, what we see in picture number 13 in the book is a copy replication of the same thing, but we don't see the neutron part. Let's say our universe is not the electron part of the division of another universe, but is a proton size. So what we see in the center as a black line, which we always thought is a black hole in the center of the universe, is not a black hole. The black line is a horizontal line, which the ejection of the fields from the last universe is still pushing through as it's going through the environment of the unicos, exactly as a neutron is ejecting its material out in a streamline as fields, and for them down, they create gravitational magnetic field, and then they become what do you call it, a plasma shape. So in fact, what we see in the structure of the central line of the WMA map is a line which is in line with the reality in the world of physics, in plasma technology. So we do not have a central line, a central hole in the center of the universe. Not have a central black hole in the center of a proton or electron or neutron. We have a elasticated shape of electron proton which is on the move, and that movement creates its own friction with its own structure. What does it mean? If you look at the MW map, it's thin on the edges and it thickens in the middle and it thins on the back. This is the direction of the flow of the plasmatic materials which have created it. This is the tip of the arrow. So it's continuously is weaker and it has a smaller gravitational magnetic field. The end has the same properties, because most of the in the center, what we call mass, is in fact sitting in the elongated column in the center. Why does this happen? As the plasma of the last universe is divided in a jet stream moving out in the space of the unicos, or in a neutron dividing, it's ejected like a jet. It's literally like finding a hole with the oil in a balloon, and you see the oil gets ejected out of the balloon. It's the same thing, but there you have a plasma of a, what do you call it, fields. Then As you have, for example, the balloon is a neutron and it has oil in it, and you make a hole in the side of the balloon. As the material ejects out, till it finds its position on the ground or on the wall, it does not take its final shape. But if it could carry on, you see it going like an arrow till it finds its final shape or it slows down. It happens with the mass. Yeah, okay. So you see the ejection of the plasma from the last universe, which is the tip is S, the middle carries most of the mass, and the bottom is the last bit which is coming out of the balloon. So you have the same structure. Then what happens in the condition of the plasmatic magnetic fields, the head fields have already slowed down. So they are at a different strength here than here. As this second one approaches to the first one and it slows down in interaction, then it turns and leads to creation of new plasmatic magnetic field environment. And if these new strengths are at the strength of the matter level, you start seeing creation of matters around the center line. And then the same thing happens with these fields with the others, so you start getting the shape of the universe in a not a full sphere shape, but in an oval shape, as we've seen. And this confirms, this behavior confirms the shape of the universe as we've seen it and it's been planned on MW map. Now, what does this mean? This changes a lot of things in the world of science. This simple explanation changes every assumption which is made in the world of cosmology, in the world of physics. In so many ways, what has been assumed by the scientists as CERN, that what they call God particles, we show how God particles are created, how matters are created in a plasma of a proton, electron, or a universe. As these fields in the back are still going with a much strength, faster than the front, which are slowed down, they interact. And this interaction creates a ballooning effect of the different fields as they interact at different strength, and leads to creation of different state of matter at different plasmatic strength. So what you get in reality, at the beginnings, you get most of the strength like a hydrogen, and as they move further and they reduce, you get the lighter planets and lighter stars. And as you are more in the center, with a heavier, stronger gravitational magnetic field, you get a heavier mass planet and star formations. So for the first time, we understand the creation of the universe. The creation of entities in universe, which they like to call it in the nuclear or plasma technology, God particles. In a bigger scale, we call it stars and planets. Every star is a God particle. And this is how they are created. And we see a mass in the center because of the flow of the gravitational magnetic field strength being ejected. Is not as it comes and it balloons out. In no condition in the universe we have a black hole which is black hole as a spherical. In totality, even what we see as a black hole, in the center has the same shape. It has to have that shape. And what is slowed down at the border of the equality or balance of gravitational magnetic field in absorption, exactly like nanomaterials, that is black, because it absorbs most of the light and what it emits out at the same time. This leads to the creation of what we call matter. Now, this brings what we've seen and what we have seen here in test. In the helmet, in the lab, we've seen the same thing. We set the system at current on the base and the top of helmet at 0.1 volt amp. There was no change. Yesterday, we reconnected, separated the helmet from the bottom. Yesterday, Armand isolated the two parts. And we increased the amperage to 0.2. And in this process, up to now, we see zero voltage, but we see current flow. Even in this apparatus which we have, which you see here, and an ammeter, we have the same thing, if you can see it. It's zero, you can see, can you see it now? Upside down, we go, we already tested. Okay, we try to give you a better look. Can you see it? Is it better now? You can see it. We can't move it. So, as you see here, the voltage is still zero, but we have 0.5 amp. So, the condition comes and the explanation comes, how can you have no voltage but amperage? And how can we reach such a condition? The fact is that we go back to this because you can see it, then you can understand it easier. Because there is a resolution in the back. Okay. In this apparatus, here in this picture, we show the center line here. Center line is so what happens is that when you apply a current flow and not in that position as a center line, a potential or level difference, because all the materials in the center are more or less of the same strength, they have no potential difference, but field, but you see no voltage. And this is the behavior and characteristics of nanomaterials, gas materials, and the materials in this, what you call as a scientific electronics, we call it superconducting materials. This is a huge breakthrough in developing superconductive environments at room temperature and room. So what happens when you put a current through the center, you replicate the same process as what happens in the center of a universe or the center of a proton or a neutron. Yeah, okay, we are, yeah, okay. We're gonna switch off the live stream in the lab. Maybe we get better. Yeah, okay. So we might have an answer we're looking for. Okay. In so many ways, what we see in this process, we see very much, if you could measure the environment around this, we'll see a universe, universal structure, where what we have encapsulated in the center is the center of the universe line. and around it we have the same kind of fields. What we call is Coulomb's barrier, or what we call the universal barrier, or what you call the atmosphere. So in reality, in a simple structure setting, and what we saw with our Chinese friends, when you reach a point of free motion, you jump from 0.2 amp to 30 and 50. This is because now when you created the right condition, you are traveling in no voltage area, there is no potential difference, and the current flow becomes free. So the current increases. You go with a faster motion in a vacuum condition. What happened in the plate with Evans, that he sees no resistance, due to the natural nanomaterials and the thinness of the plate, in that condition in the water, the gravitational magnetic fields of the nano layers, instead of going outwardly, they go inwardly. So at this point, because the protons and electrons in the structure of the copper itself are magnetic gravitational field elements, they become part of the magnetic field environment, and the motion literally becomes irrelevant. Physical vibration of electrons is irrelevant. The resistance is irrelevant, because all the energies are now transferred on the magnetic field, plasmatic magnetic field condition, or what you call a superconductor. So to create a superconductor condition, you can put a material, even non-nano coated, inside a GaNs material which is coated. If it's thin enough, the fields will make the resistance in the conductor, be it copper or whatever, more or less zero. And the material behaves as a GaNs or a nanomaterial, even though it's in a matter state. This goes back to our teaching on the health, with the explanation of the working of the guts and stomach and the intestine. And what we explained, that the minute you put the matter in your mouth and passes through the back of your throat, the food, the matter enters a gravitational, plasmatic, magnetic anymore. And now you see the parallel in the work of the universe. And you see the parallel. When you take food, as we explained, in your mouth, and it goes through the back of your throat and enters the channel, the food, to get to the stomach, from that point, because the food, even it is in matter state, now behaves like a superconductor. As you see, when you immerse your electrode into the water, or you put your matter without the nanomaterial coated or nanomaterial coated into a GaNs, which is a magnetic field environment, like the center of the universe. So in one test, simultaneously, 2 in China, 1 in here, and with the measurements which is done, you come to understand matter to be a gravitational magnetic field entity plasma of a different strength, and is working in the universe. And in so many ways, this explanation brings back the medical application side of the teaching, in line with cosmology, in line with the power supply, in line with nano. Now that we start seeing and developing different aspects of the technology, now you see how they come to have a common denominator in every aspect. In reality, if you look at it the other way, the center line is the food which is going through the throat or in the stomach. And the tube is nanolayered. And when we put current through a nanolayer, there is no voltage difference. The distribution of the fields is equal. So you don't see as such a huge potential difference, because it's in the total covered nano in structure plasmatic condition. And the food as a center line behaves the same way. We see huge voltages compared once they become in a matter state to the plasmatic state. The voltage is 0 at the entry. We measure it again. We do measurement. As you see, there are different numbers on the plate. We measure current and voltage at every point. The voltage is 0 at the point of entry, but the current at the moment is 0.5. Yesterday we did a 0.03 test. Voltage is 0 here. The video
I
is
don't know if
frozen.
are you trying to show something or?
No, it's the same material on the table. It's just my pen. Can you see the movement of the pen?
No.
Nope.
Okay, we switch it off. Okay, we switch it off and we switch it back on. Can you see it now?
Just a minute here. Okay, it's back on and it looks more clear. Yes, it's a bit better.
Okay, so what happened is that this line in the center is the food, like the food which is going through the stomach, and the tube here is like a throat, nano coated with a nano coil. The voltage at the point of entry in the coil is 0, but the amperage is 0.05. And once we transfer the no voltage 0.05 amp into the structure and we measure in the matter state, which creates a division between different layers of the atomic structure of the matter, we find half a volt, and we find in measurements around 1890 microamp. And then we find out, what we see is that if you put a multiplication of the voltage input and the current input as a wattage, more or less 0, we measure with different equipments, it's still the same. The power production comes to 2 microamp, roughly around 0.002 milliamp watts, or we call it 0.2 watts of energy, milliwatts of energy. So when you look at it, you convert the current flow of the plasma into working power. We done some, every measurement here, you can see, we can show you a digital measurement done yesterday. We measure at every point. And we see the input between 3 and 4 at the amperage is 0. But the input at the point of the delivery is 0.2. And then it changes. Where, if you look, the amperage is 0.04, but there is no voltage measured by voltmeters and ammeters. But once the flow of the current or flow of the field comes to a halt and leads to the creation of matter state, then we see both current and the potential difference. This is very important for those who work in a material state. I have a very strange look on the table by Marco. What are you looking at?
I'm just thinking.
Just thinking, hard thinking. So what we see in a very simple structure, we can explain the parallel working of the universe in an atomic, molecular, and plasmatic condition. In a very simple way, solves a lot of mysteries in the world of physics which never been understood, and a lot of assumptions which has been made. All these assumptions with very simple tests come to an end. And it can show the reality. And that's why a new dimension to the world of physics and plasma technology needs to be added. If you put the current flow through the center, where the flow will be outwardly, then you will see the same parallel structure as you see in the universe, where the center line becomes what we call the principal matter line in the center of the universe, or in the electron, or in the proton, or a neutron. But you have to realize one further point, and that is, even in the molecular structure, the whole molecule has this center line. No matter, even in a matter state, is ever standing stationary. The only thing which happens in like molecular structures is due to the presence of other fields around the center line of the, let's say, neutron, they create this motion to be circular. And this leads to the rotation of the electrons or protons and gives them that near steady stationary condition, what we call a matter state. So if we look into the structure of the full, let's say, neutron, that center line still is carrying on. It has not stopped. But due to the magnetic gravitational fields of the other matters, other plasmas in the environment, it does not carry on in the directional flow. It gets pushed into itself and leads to the creation of the motion of the proton, electron, or neutron. And this is how the motion, by conversion of the flow of the center line, is created in the world of creation. This is how we see and we understand why a proton, a neutron, the universe, a molecule is on rotation and the motion of a circular motion. If the field strength in the environment is not strong enough, this expansion will be bigger. We behave like a gas. If the universal condition, if our universe was flowing into a wall, we would have seen a universe with a flat end. We would have had a universe like this. But because the other universes around our universe are dictating plasmatic magnetic field of the direction of the flow of a universe, the universe takes a shape of a spherical oval shape. If we stop an electron, if we stop a proton still in its position, we will find out it's not really what we assume to be a spherical. It's more oval shape, because the field is floating. There's still the same condition, and the front is always stronger than the back. So it creates that elongated, what we call the oval shape. Because as the fields are returning back into the end of the proton, they gather energy and fields in the center, so they leave a stronger shape. It's near spherical, but not necessarily fully spherical. But when you become a matter state and you change the rotation in axis in respect to the another entity, like Earth in respect to the Sun, you get a full spherical shape. Because now the environment dictates the shape in a solid state matter. In the gas state, you have, that's why the gas takes the shape of the room, the shape of its container. Because we allow the freedom of the motion in how it can be added and how it can dictate its position in respect to the condition it's in. Then, in a very simple way, we understand how we should be able to understand how to create systems which do not need resistors, transistors, and everything else. Because now we can dictate the speed of the motion, and we can dictate the speed of the change of the motion. We can dictate the distance that this motion can allow itself to be opened up into. This can be done with one plasma, it can be done with millions of plasmas. It depends what strength plasma you place in front of the flow and how much of it you're trying to resist by creation of the plasmatic magnetic field pressure. This changes the whole world of electronics, and this changes the whole world of what we call space technology. Travel without resistance. Because by the gravitational magnetic fields which you create around your craft, you dictate the thinness and the thickness of your fields, or the strength of your fields in respect to the environment. At a further distance, you create a weaker, similar to the environment which you're traveling in, so you have zero resistance flow. Superconductivity. The speeds at the speeds you decide in your central line of reactor, hundreds and thousands of times faster than the speed of the light, as we see it in the matter state. Einstein was not wrong in saying the speed of light is ultimate speed. The speed of light is the ultimate speed in the matter state. Because after that point, it reaches a strength which cannot be faster because it's conditioned by the higher strength. So the speed of light is conditioned to the magnetic field strength of the environment. The speed of light in the principal strength is totally different than the speed of light or visibility in the matter state. If you can create a speed of plasmatic magnetic flow very much as the center line of the universe with such a strength, then you will see you can travel with the speeds which are at this strength, not at the strength of the matter which is created when it's slowed down. Then when you reach a position anywhere in the universe, you can replicate your own condition in that environment that allows you to exist and to live. You do the same thing in your stomach. When you eat the food, when it passes through the intestine, different layers of intestines gravitational magnetic field dictates what strength is extracted from the source or from the lymph or from what you call the food which is going through your stomach. The coffee, please. In past 1 hour, if scientists understand what has been explained and expand on it, and we teach this and we explain it in the university in the opening months, then a lot of mysteries and myths in the world of creation, which has been assumed due to not understanding the fact and the truth, will be resolved. As part of the promotion video done by the teaching unit of the university, it says we create the leaders of the future in science and in space, because with the knowledge you have, you will lead the rest of the scientists of the world into understand the reality and not the assumptions which has been made to suit certain scientists for notoriety. We have to be able to achieve a full understanding. We have to understand without prejudice the reality, that it doesn't suit a PhD or a master or a professorship. Then we don't have anything to protect them. We can look at the reality and the structure of the working of the universe and the systems for this. Has been a question for Arman. He's tested everything. He says, I have no voltage, but I have current. How is this possible? There is something wrong. Measures it. It's still the same. It says there is a short circuit. We open the hat, we call it. I think you have to take this away. So underneath this. We took the helmet apart yesterday to isolate it. And in that process of isolation, we measured the resistance of the nanomaterials which he coated several times over a few days inside the helmet and on the plate. We saw a very strange phenomenon yesterday. The plate is spherical. You all have seen it, the base. And I think it's our American delegation. Armand just arrived. Yeah, open the door. Oh, Caroline will do, no problem. The plate is spherical. Then the helmet sits like this over the plate. The plate is more or less 100% fully nano-coated because it's been coated and coated again and again. What we observed yesterday is that any nano-coated material which has been under the dome has conductivity. And any nanomaterial which sits outside the dome is still super resistance nano-coated. And this dome has been on for what, 2 weeks now? A week, 2 weeks? So what has happened in this system, we have 3 reactors filled up with CO2, copper oxide, and CH3, and 1 central core on the top in the dome. The gravitational magnetic fields released by the GANs within the cores have changed the characteristics of the nano layers, even though not being in touch with them. but interacting with their fields, and have converted them from a nanostructure back to a nanostructure matter condition. We're still black, we're still nanolayers, with totally different behavior. In so many ways, nanolayers, in interaction with the environment, they behave as matter condition. But at the same time, the strangest part is that when we look inside the dome, inside the hat, originally was something like a shape like this, I think if I remember correctly, in a shade of whitish, like a caustic residue. Now more or less the whole sphere has become whitish with the same residue. But it's still non-conductive, nano-coated. Don't forget that the dome, I can go further out, the dome sits on the plate. The structure under the dome still behaves as a nanomaterial, but the structure on the dome in flat behaves as is become matter state, conductive. We have added now 2 electrodes and 2 electrodes outside, and these 2 together into a power supply. And what we saw, before we add the 2 together this way, the power supply was at 0.01 amp, and we increased it to 0.02 amp, and then suddenly jumped to 28, and then at 52 this morning. We have not touched the voltage. The environment, yeah, okay. Yeah, what happened here, we had 0.1, 0.01 for a beginning, for a day or so, 2 days. And then when we increased it to 0.02, suddenly the jump came to 28, and then this morning 52. With the voltage still I think at 0. We still don't see any voltage. We didn't see any voltage yesterday. So what we all have observed, our Chinese colleagues have observed, what we observe in other positions, is that there is a barrier in transfer of the flow of the plasma in the matter state in respect to the current flow of the plasma. What do you call it? Analyzed. And then we see at what point call the separation of the plasma matter state starts. And then this gives us a new material condition that by current flow we change the characteristics of the matter to a superconductor or a super resistor as we wish, in the bandwidth which we wish. And in so many ways, Chinese colleagues have supplied us with the 1 and 2 rings, which is the iron caustic moving, iron GaNs moving into the CH3 environment. We see a current flow between the plasmas. And when they create that center ring push, or what we call the magnetic gravitational field ring, they allow the conversion and the speed of the motion of what we call the current flow. Because at that potential, you create a higher or lower current, or you can dictate what current you want to extract from the material or from the environment. If scientific world of electronics understood what our Chinese colleagues and what Evan has explained, and what we shown here today, in a matter of months, the world of electronic will change totally at no cost. All you need to do is make very much what Mike showed us in his first presentation with the rings. And that's what I explained. If you understand the behavior of the gravitational flow or the speed or the current to create the pressure, then you understand how you can control the thickness, the flow of the current and the shielding in the space technology and in electronics, because there is no difference. You got to go deeper in understanding that there is no difference between the resistance and Coulomb's barrier and the gap in between the plasmatic structure of the GANs. Then you can translate the knowledge into the next step and take the whole understanding into the medical side. Then if you understand this, you go to a cancer cell. You can place a cancer unit change of plasmatic magnetic fields and change the solidity or the gravitational magnetic field in the plasma of the cancer cell. It's very much, if you had the center line in the universe, and this center line led to creation of matter in different strength, now you can position the matter nearer or closer by the power, by the matter of the current flow. Here is still a field, further out more matter, creation of bigger cancer cells. Instantaneously you can destroy any cancer cell in the body of the man. This is a development that we will show in the coming months in Barry. The machine for it has already been developed. This is how, when you always say, when people start showing things, we start explaining the process. Because at that point, before that point, there is no intelligence to understand. Then you can do the same thing with the rings which our Chinese colleagues have shown. You add the number of rings in your system. And then you extract the current or introduce current the way you want. Then you decide what current flows you have. You can keep the potential difference in positioning in gravitational magnetic field of the plasma at 0. It's very easy to do. It's the current flow of the plasma, at what speed the river flows, which dictates at what position from the current you'll have the potential difference at the strength you need. It is very much, if you go back into the turbine business and the dam, depends where you want the flow of the water from the dam is constant. You open a gate. Now you have the possibility of where you want to put your turbine. Higher or lower. Bigger drop or higher drop. You want to catch the energy immediately as the water released, or you want to put it at the bottom of the dam to catch a full drop and conversion. It's very much where you want to place your turbine in a steam generators and what blade size. Now you can make a turbine which the blade is the same, they don't need to be conical. Then The point comes, does man need to produce kilowatts in the electron motion, or does man wants to work in megawatts in plasmatic motion? This costs a lot of money. Megawatts in plasmatic cost zero. Literally nothing once you produce the plasma. The whole understanding of the new technology is the application of technology and conversion of new systems. I explained this to the knowledge seekers in the past few days. Your body weighs, let's say 80 kilo, 50 kilo, 100 kilo. How much energy do you need to move 50 kilo, let's say 200 meter? How much energy do you need to walk a marathon? If you are moving 100 kilo on the back of a truck to pull it the 25, 26 miles. How can the body of a man with micro plasmatic amperage does the same job? You don't put 100 liter of fuel on your back and you run a marathon. The body converts the energy of the plasma of the hydrogen in your body in nano and less than nano watts into motion of hundreds of kilos of your body for a long time. Because it uses plasmatic condition, energy, and not vibration of electron. It's time to move from what we have learned and put a cross on it and move in the plasma, motion and energy of a plasma, and work in nano and milliamps and milliwatts. Because in reality, if you look at your structure, let's say 1 watt in plasmatic condition is maybe about 1 to 2 million watt in electron condition. It's much easier to work in a 1 watt in plasmatic and create that condition to achieve motion and energy conversion than going to 1 or 2 megawatts in electron vibration. Go back to the pictures of the creation of the center of the universe. Higher energy stars, higher energy systems in the center. The lower the strength to the boundaries of the universe shows masses. Needs a more energy to create the motion, even in a plasmatic condition. If the new generation of scientists which come out of the institute from next month or so understand and grasp this condition, we walk away from burning of the fuel very rapidly. We walk away from understanding that we have attached ourselves to a slow donkey, and we always had the facility to move with the jumbo jet. It has been our choice, it hasn't been forced on us. But according to our intelligence, we chose the donkey. Now in the institute, we try to teach you in a very simple way. You don't need to carry a backpack to feed the donkey. You only need a tablet, and you can do the same job 100 times, 1,000 times faster and better with a new system of energy production. By moving into a new fuel system, what we call plasma technology. by understanding the concept, not but as we have been told all the time, show us, show us. All the technology within the hand, within the reach of the followers of the foundation in past year is there for you to produce everything. But as I always say, you are too narrow-minded and too much focused on matter condition than the plasma condition. It's the same with the communication lines. You don't need huge towers and so much energy. It's the same situation with the Iranian nuclear the proliferation condition. They are moving in a fast direction in a plasma condition to create a matter condition, and the West has not understood the development. We are going in a direction to the next generation of fuel production. The fuel which is part of our own body, but we have never understood to utilize it. And this is the job of the new institute as it's established now, to teach and bring the new understanding in the evolution of the man's science and knowledge and technology. The simplicity of understanding the basic process of the creation. All of you have seen the MW map for years on the internet. They show the heat flow, they show everything else. But it should have given the first indication. This is the, you don't have a stationary entity sitting there. There has been assumption and measurements that the universe travels at 1 million kilometers an hour or a second or whatever. But where does the motion comes from? And how come this center line is kept constant at the same time? With a simple explanation, now you can understand. And if you understand this process, you go from principle all the way to matter and submatter. And it depends what current flow you want to flow between the center and outside. Because the current flow at each level is constant. It's the potential difference at different levels which gives you the matter difference. This is what you have to grasp. Once you grasp this idea, and the principle is very simple to run anything you like. Your current flow at any level is the same. But the potential difference comes as you travel in different length or position of the plasma. Here you have white, here you have green, here you have blue. And where you want to be in respect how much blue you are prepared to compensate or give energy-wise in plasmatic condition to reach the other states, but you still travel at the same speed. The current is the same, current flow. Once you translate this knowledge into the matter state, then you can even play the same thing in the matter state. That's why Evans tells us when you put the plate in the water, it behaves at zero resistance. Because now the environment of the water, due to gravitational magnetic field of the water, forces the fields which are radiating outside to be resistance inwardly into the center of the plate. And now the whole thing behaves like a plasma. You change the condition, you change the environment. Try to understand and not just say what happened, this happens and I don't know why. Any changes you see, before you look into the change, start looking the condition and the environment which created that change. Then you add to the knowledge of man. Then you can make the difference in the technology and understanding of new systems. What I've seen in past weeks and months, every time we bring somebody on to explain their system, they show, oh, this happens and I see this change. But no one ever has said, okay, I changed the condition, I changed the environment. what that environment added or changed in the characteristic of my material. Then the wrong assumptions don't come in. Nobody writes that we created a black hole condition. You don't create a black hole condition. Black holes in the universe don't exist. It's a strength level which you condition one flow in respect to the other. In the pictures shown by our Chinese colleagues, they see the ring, but they don't understand why something goes from 30 to 50. And then they tell you in the writing what they put in there. You have different materials which the water hasn't disappeared. The water has become part of the Gans state of the matter. You have a sealed cap. Nothing can, we don't see a shrinkage. It's changing the condition has allowed the material for the molecules of the water to be suppressed in between the stronger plasma of the material inside. And then, as we say, lions with the lions, bird with birds. The gravitational magnetic field of the same strength have managed to process and gather into the ring condition in different positions. And then now you have created 30 milliamp flow or a 50 milliamp flow, according to the resistance. If our Chinese friends and the people in the world of electronic understand what is put in a simple way by our Chinese colleagues, you have already changed the world of electronics. You have already changed and shown the first device in conversion and production of different resistors and transistors and the transmission lines power. Without any matter, using plasmatic condition of the gas. The 2 or 3 pictures we've seen and the explanation by Evans and the pictures from Chinese and the test done here in the lab changes the whole understanding of the world of energy transmission, transformation and conversion. If Evans understood what he said, we spoke yesterday and I understood he does not understand, he hasn't grasped what is done, and now maybe he understands better. You don't need superconductors to go at the room temperatures not being possible. Nanocode, I explained this 2 or 3 workshops before and nobody grasped it. Now maybe we extend it and you understand it more. You do the same thing in the stomach of... What do the acids or enzymes do? The enzymes and the acids, whatever is in your stomach, create the same condition as the water. Push the material, lettuce or a carrot or a meat, to convert, to open up to become gas. That's all it is. There is no difference. The enzymes and the acidity in the stomach and the water in the tank which Evans shown or is tested. You create a condition by to pressurize, to open up the atomic lettuce or a carrot, as we saw in the pictures which Dr. Elia showed a few weeks ago, into separation, atomic structure separation, and into a plasma. Now you can do whatever you like with it. And then if you understood the principle of the conversion, you can change the atomic structure of a lettuce to plutonium, or you can change it to a banana. From the energy aspect level when it gets to the intestine. Because it carries the energy level is the lining of intestine which decides what energy wants to take from where, at what level. So it creates the parallel power magnetic field condition to extract. Magnetic for copper, magnetic for calcium and the rest. It is time to move with the time of lectures. Next week is exactly 1 year we've been teaching. 52 topic on the knowledge seek. It's a good time to start a new of working and understanding why do you want to go from, let's say, to New York for weeks and be in the hand of the mercy of the weather, where you have a fast boat in your hand and you can go within hours. We have chosen to rely on a curtain and a pole stuck onto the piece of wood, where now we have the choice to go with the most advanced technology with less fuel and with certainty. We've chosen to practice in the world of matter vibration what we call electrons. And the electron itself is a plasma which is trying to find its and the room that it can be free to move. We call it its bandwidth. Why don't we go in the working of the inside of it? Then you decide the bandwidth, because you decide how much energy from inside can be released. If the scientists, electronic and electrical scientists, what we call plasma physicists, understand what has been explained today and since we started, we will see new tools of energy, space, and no need for us to be thought of. Because you decide what you convert when you convert at zero resistance.
It's a lovely microphone.
You know, we don't believe in advanced technology in Keshe Foundation. It's still stuck in donkeys and all sorts of things. Okay.
It's the tin can with the string that's hard to hear sometimes.
Yeah, it's just the head moves too much. It's too heavy to keep it in one place. There's nothing in it, but it moves too much. Okay, now. Okay, I'll try because I don't have a big marker. Let's see what we can show you. You showed an apple. Now, this apple has a field which goes through it and it comes out of it. Now, if I put another apple here, so we call it this positive negative in talking about plasma has to end, because we don't have a positive negative. We have entry and exit. If you get to that point, then you solve half of the problem. So what you have a magnetic field which is exit to entry. Yeah? And then you have the same here. You have an exit to entry. Now, what you have done, be it in a matter state or non-matter state, you have in this place, in this state, in the first two, as you go in a plasma, and as you explained, due to the decay and adding of the energy from the principal matter coming out to the plasma, to the edge of plasma or a reactor, your field, let's say, enters at 1 and exits at 1 plus E. Whatever energy it has added to its mass to come out from the top. Where this energy is lost in the process, partially with the environment when it enters at the south pole, or what you call south pole, what we call it entry. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so now you have an energy of 1 plus E, which, as goes by the same principle in the plasma, comes out 1 plus E plus E, because now it's gained energy from this plasma too, which partially, part of this energy here at 1E is equal to what is entering the other exit too, because it's lost in the process, in the interaction with other fields. So you have a loss here of E minus the losses in the transition. But what you've shown, and this is something you have to understand. I don't expand on it because you have to add to your knowledge by whatever you call it, by understanding the totality, is that now you have a plasma and you have the same plasma here in the same position. Now you have added another plasma in the center. You have locked, because of the physicality, the axes are totally locked in. Now you have brought in additional power supply, meaning in the state of the GANs or nano layer. So what you have here at the exit is 1 plus E, which because of the pressure cannot do anything, has to come and go in the matter state in the nano layer and be added. The same will go the same way, where this state of matter is adding energy to the entry. The same way is adding energy to the entry, which the more energy is added, there are no losses on the magnetic field level. So you start creating a loop of energy production. One thing which none of you have understood up to now is how close you have to bring these two together. If I go further up, that you can force the losses of nanomaterial to zero, but at the same time forcing the nano coating to release energy in a plasmatic level. If you can understand this and you can force the issue, then you break into a layer lower than the nano layer, which is the higher energy power. Don't forget the principle of the plasma. The plasma increases its energy as it goes to the center, because the principal matter unwinds this way. Nobody, none of you have managed to cross this comprehension, this level of understanding, and that's why you are stuck between the two levels of matter and all sorts of games. You are dealing with a matter state and electron vibration between these two, but at this stage, through the nano, you are releasing huge amount of energy, which is in a field level, not in a matter level. And you cannot harvest it, because you are looking in the wrong direction for what to you in matter state is correct. So what you got to do, if you're going to expand this and measurement and the system, and I've seen discussions going around the forums, look at the structure of what I suggested to Arman, and Arman has made a very good copies of it, but still is not reaching it. This is your copper tube, matter. Then you have a nano layer. Then you have a GaNs added, then you have a nanolayer, and then you have the matter. This is the matter and this is the nanolayer. Now, if you go back in what I explained in this picture, and if you look at the structure which is here, then you see you have a nanomaterial, you have a GaNs of the material in the plasma in more freer state which can release more energy, and then you have another material which can absorb it in a way of matter state in electron, if you are interested in this. You have to work, find a way where you work between this layer and this layer, not between this layer and the matter inside. This is where you're all losing so much power and you don't see it. If in the coming time we put an aura detector around this, you will see how much the aura of the pipe changes. What we're doing with this layer, with the power supply which is added to it, is by putting another coil inside, which is again has a combination of a matter and nano layer. We are trying to force the release of more nano into a GaNs state to pressurize the current flow in this barrier in the center. So in fact, the copper wire inside is getting forced to accept more and more of a plasmatic packages of energy in an electron magnetic field vibration strength. Listen to exactly what I said. I chose the words very, very carefully. You look for a current in the shape of electron vibration, a current. What you are collecting is a residue of leftover of what the plasmas in interaction with the matter state have released in a plasmatic condition as equal packages of energy as what electron vibration will do between two bands of its orbit around the electron in the matter state. So what you have to push, what you have to extend to the knowledge is to understand the vibration and the distance and a gap between these two points in the electron vibration in a matter state. Then you can produce millions and millions of kilowatts from the same process, but you collect it in a plasmatic condition, not in a matter condition. Then you are actually looking for something which is going over your head and you don't see it. And this is where I saw the pictures, I saw the windings you do, but somehow you have not come to comprehend this simple explanation. If you can understand this simple explanation, you can make power systems in gigawatts. Because when the energy enters coming from the North Pole, or coming from what you call it, entry and exit of anyone, when the energy enters, comes in 1 plus E, plus the energy from the plasma, which is being released to it, added to it. So by the time it goes through the center, it's already added and it gets added. So you have such a perfect amplifier of plasmatic energy, and none of you have used it up to now, because you don't understand it. This circle here could be the wire which is nano-coated. Or this circle in here
can be the plasma of a GANS. You have not, and you will have a problem till you come or you do not understand the implication and application of plasmatic magnetic fields. A specific magnetic field, SEPMAF, what we call in the very first book, very first chapter. You have to find that specific plasmatic gravitational magnetic field package of a plasma which opens the key to universal energy. Then, from the wires you showed, from the system we have developed here, you can drain what you need when you need. I reckon it'll take you, as at this level, maybe those who understand it and don't work between a matter and a plasma, maybe 2 years. And those who understand it can achieve it by tomorrow. You have to extend the knowledge, but by extending it, you have to understand what it does. You do the same thing when you eat a banana. When the banana enters your digestion system, it becomes in a GANS state. It means it adds to the energy that allows the energy to expand and for it to extract. In so many ways, if you understand this enforced pressure on the matter state due to the flow of plasma or presence of the plasma, then you enter the universal energy source and is unlimited. You have to
So
create.
this depends on the strength of that nano. Sorry about the delay.
No, don't worry.
To be able to do what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So this is the point. This is the point. Sorry, I'm trying to talk to you at the same time, guiding people what to load. It's not very easy. This explains in so many ways why at the moment there is so much problem with people around the chat rooms and others in trying to see, to observe flow or current. This is what I explained to Armand and Marco. What we done in this copper tube, and I explained it again that maybe we can understand it better, is that we have made a copper tube, nano coated. I do in one side because otherwise I'll be going everywhere. Then we have put a coil, which again has a nano coating on it. Then we have put in a GANS. Then you have put in a copper wire, which on it there is nano coating. What we are doing, we have connected this to a power supply. A very low, 0 voltage, 0.1 amp, 0.2 amp, 0.3 amps, we are increasing it. The reason we are doing this is that by introducing current to the coil, we are releasing, as you all have seen, creating nanolayers, which because of the salt condition we have created in here, releasing these nano materials as we can to push them to become a GANS, that the push exertion on the GANS materials to the center nanomaterial leads to more pressure on the nanomaterials on here to release their energy as electron packages, vibration in a center that you can observe current flow between the two. Let's go back. Yeah. Just 1 second, please. Those go in the big container box. Yeah. So what you have to realize, what you have to understand further is that we are creating a plasmatic magnetic gravitational pressure. This is what the intention is. At what point we manage to release enough material from this plate, from the coil which is placed, that's the point when the gravitational magnetic field of the nanolayer here and the nanolayer here tune to be the same, and you get a massive reduction and release of energy. And this is the part which is not understood and is keep on getting extended on. When you make these coils, try to understand. A scientist at, yes, Mr. You have to understand the process of conversion of plasma energy in a plasmatic condition. You just make the tools, you put a nano coating, you wind it, but you don't understand the total concept. It's very much for those who have a physics background. You put a gas in, you increase the pressure, the gas becomes liquid, and then it transition goes to a solid. Even in the solid state, it's still active matter, but on the outer layers which is behaving as a matter state. That's, as I said in the last talks, the misconception about the minus 270 degrees, that everything will freeze, there is no electron movement. This is the lack of understanding of the man. If the electron does not move around and does not have a vibration around its center by exchange of gravitational magnetic field plasma, then you have achieved the state of GANs. Because now they become unified gas, unified entity, you become unified plasma. This is exactly what you do in this process, as has been done by creating minus 200, 300 degrees to stop. But here you're trying to find the point of the balance between the two fields, and your material is of the same of the two. Copper, nano-coated, copper, nano-coated. You can do it with plastic. You can do it with wood. This is, if you go back and understand this and can replicate it, then it should be very easy to make tools of the measurement for any gravitational magnetic field without even observing and knowing and detecting or being on the point of observation of the field or the matter. You feel the pressure of universe on your system. You feel the pressure of the galaxy on your system. Then you know which system where creates what pressure. Then it gives you a point that you have to tune into it to be able to be attracted in the opposite direction very much as this system. And if you can do, then your reactor not only gets attracted, but it releases your energy for consumption inside your system. You tap into universal energy. You tap into zero time travel. You tap into zero time communication. Then you dictate the speed of communication. Then you dictate the speed of travel.
as you go inwards to the center of the plasma strength, you go out by the speed of magnitude. 100 times the speed of light, 1,000,000,000 times the speed of light, 1,000,000,000,000 times the speed of light. Because now you travel at the strength which you have matched, not what you have achieved at the speed of light on the matter entity, because you have passed the matter border of the plasma. And if you understand this, in no time, the scientists who understand this can create motion, information transmission, time of travel. This is where I explained to Armin and Marco what could be made, and Armin has made the system. But you all trying to replicate, or some of you are trying to understand it, but understand what sits behind it, what means to work in this way. I kept on telling you in the past, you have to create gravitational plasmatic pressure. Now you see how it's done. Some of you weeks ago went and showed us you can create GANs without caustic by adding a little bit of energy. And I explained to you how you're doing it, and now it's done because you're going the same way. You're creating enough heat on the top layer of the element that is not enough to radiate, but is enough to release the top layer. Resistance between the matter as a copper and the air as a gas. The problem with you understanding is you have done this every day of the winter. You plug in the electricity, your wire, and the coil heats up and you take its heat. Because you are used to in megawatts and kilowatts. You buy electric heater for 2 kilowatt, 10 kilowatt. And then say, oh, it's too much money to pay, I stay cold. But go down to microamp and nanoamps, then you release the nanomaterial as you've seen it. And then you use the power of what you released as a nanomaterial in the gas state to release the power of the universe. And this is what you, as totality, have in time of teaching, will learn. And this is what I tell you, you live between a schizophrenic, between one another, and you don't know where you are. You have to create enough pressure that allows the gate of the energy as given magnetic gravitational field strength to open up. It's you who has to find out at what level, what mixture. That's why we are, as I always say, we are pushing with collaboration with the Japanese. Deuterium, the way people say, I can get it on that, is no good to us. Deuterium at the energetic level that become a GANs, and it has to be created through plutonium, which is the easiest way, is what the Japanese are sitting on. The gamma rays which they penetrate, you have to find plasmatic gamma rays which can extract their energy. And it's very easy. Every atom does it every day. Because you have to understand these plasmatic pressure and the work of the plasmatic pressure. And then, if you understand this, you go a step further, which is, in fact, let me clean the table out because everything's here. What you do
is you increase plasmatic pressure to each other. The loop, look at the loop. You increase the power by order of magnitude, not from the beginning, but by absorbing more and more and more and more, because there are no losses, but you get addition to. Because in a plasmatic condition, you have another set which sits the same. So this passage of flow of energy, you dictate. And this is exactly, if you understand it, is your copper wire with a winding. And then at the same time, if once you have a copper wire, why don't you use two copper wires nano-coated, twisted together? So you have your copper wire, you take one nanomaterial, winding, you get a second copper wire, winding. Make one copper, make one aluminium. Make one copper, make one zinc. Then you can measure the magnetic gravitational field flow of your environment according to the matter state in the universe. You can do it in a much easier way because this wire in the center and this double loop to the top is the structure of the human body. Two legs. Why do you think you got two legs? They are not there for walking. And they're not there for dancing. Nano-gas material. If I can show it to you. Energy connected to your bone, to your hip, start the cycle. As in a way Mike was trying to explain in Mike Harris shows, but in a matter state which went totally wrong in so many ways, you have created your double loop. Now maybe you understand how chakras in strength increase. At the bottom, you have the chakra of the earth. At the top, you achieve the chakra of the universe. Why they increase and they change? Because of the organs within the body dictates the condition. And this is what you have to replicate. It is so vital that it can lead to intelligence. But if you can live, you can produce it. It can lead to anything you want to achieve. The process is very simple. The process is to understand plasmatic pressure and how to create it without relying on the matter state. Then you find out why the body, for example, in the body of man, you have glands. This is a topic I've asked Dr. Elia to do for next session. You have the legs, the energies come, plus what enters you. Then
You look at the glands, the position of the glands in respect to the loop and increase of energy. Their position, the kidneys, then the others. They control how much energy is allowed to go up, and depending on the position of the glands and their operation, they dictate the intelligence of the man. And then they dictate the strength of the soul of the man. The structure, there is no copper wires in your body, and there is no nano layers in your body come an electric shock creating it. But a very low gravitational magnetic fields, even in the lining of your intestine, locks in to what is inside passing to what is outside to transmit, to convert it back into energy in a lymph. And you look how much energy is created. Very simply, you try to keep a, let's say 50 kilogram at 37 degrees right across the whole structure in any shape or form you like. Then you understand how much energy is released through the same process as you shown on a wire without any wire. You try to keep 50 kilogram of water at a constant 37 degrees 24 hours a day for 50 years. You need a power station. Understanding that temperature has to be controlled everywhere, and you can take energy, that this water doesn't stand still and is floating, thinking, working, and everything else as well with it. So how come it's so hard for you lot to be able to extract this energy in your systems? Your body does it constantly, every day, from the minute you were conceived to the day you die. If you go back on electronic vibration, as you like to call it, electrical current, it is, as Dr. Elias said in one of the talks, I think it's when you die, you release something like 18 Hiroshima bombs. Energy of. Where does this energy come from? A banana or a carrot? Because the body has learned how to convert. Not to convert, but how to use accordingly when it's needed, at a point is needed. You measure temperature at a matter state in electronic, electron vibration. Once you have the tool, measure the power in a plasmatic condition. You'll be amazed. A simple way of how much heat or energy is released is your aura. The color changes. If there was an energy radiated, it couldn't have interacted with the atmospheric gravitational magnetic field to create a color that is visible to you. So go back to the drawing board, go back to understanding the totality. Then you can produce energy systems which are to your level in mega kilojoules and the rest. Because then you push enough in plasmatic magnetic field level to be able to bridge or cross a field strength in a plasma. Then you can tap in a higher energy level than the matter level as much as you need. So, in fact, what you do in a plasma, you dictate your energy according how much you go in and out of the outer layer of the plasma. Higher energy, you don't need it, you go back. And then this energy, if it's used the way you would do it with the star formation, would you like to go with the speed of beyond your imagination, or would you like to go with the speed of donkey? And at the moment you're there.
But if you come slightly inner, because that energy has to cross from here to become the energy of a donkey. So it must be huge amount. Because even in a small gap in the plasmatic condition of the plasma, there is huge amount of losses and interactions between the other fields which are within that plasma. It's not all hunky-dory, all going the same way. There is plasmas, directional flow, friction, lower strength, higher strength, becoming higher and becoming lower. So the structure has to be understood. And as I said, we spoke, we shown for the first year how this is done, how you can create the fuel. Up to now, you have learned how to make fuel and how to play with this fuel. None of you have crossed to start using the fuel, understanding the fuel. I was explaining this very recently to, some time ago, to an oil minister. Oils were gushing out of earth for millions of years. We never understood what we can do with it. Till we made the cars and then we found the use for them. It's the same. Plasmatic energy has been available to the man from the time of his inception because it's part of his inception. But you've been blind to it. We chose to be blind to it because we didn't understand the work of the universe. Now you have to understand the work of the universe as you're doing, and then start working in that level. Then what you can get from the tube you showed me, or whatever almonds tube, is more than all the nuclear and thermal and hydraulic power stations and power supplies on this planet from that little tube. Because you tap into the universal energy. And when you can tap, is not what energy is in that cup which is given. It's the energy which matches the universal energy, delivers what it is in the universe as you need it. Endless. This is what you have to extend the knowledge. And I said to you, and I repeat it, you've been very active, very busy with how to make fuel. Now you made the fuel. Now start learning how to measure it and how to manipulate it to give it what you need. But walk away from the physicality. Work with the plasma within the structure of the plasma. Then you push the plasma, you play with the plasma. You encourage it, you crush it, you get whatever you like out of it. It gives you a banana, and it gives you steel, and it gives you gold and plutonium from the same plasma. Again, I repeat for you to understand. As the energy here in the plasmatic is hydrogen, here is plutonium. Which material and the strength you want to be, because don't think of matter state of the energy, look at the plasmatic gravitational magnetic field of the plasma and the strength of the plasma at that point, which is equal to plutonium. Then you have the attribute of a plutonium without any plutonium, but you achieve what you want to achieve. Then at that point, out of plutonium you can make as many bananas as you like, because you can divide the energy, but you tap into it to divide it. Here on the edge you are given the leftovers and you're happy with leftovers, the crumbs, because that's a matter state. Now with the knowledge you decide what that crumb to be, or to taste like, or to behave like. This is time that now we move into the maturity of the knowledge. We've seen it with our friends in the Spanish group. They start playing with the fields of it in agriculture, how it'll affect. We've seen it with Eric Larson in Germany, that He says the fields, the material, the plant in the cold of the winter is still there green. We've seen it with our Chinese colleagues, the beautiful job they did, and nobody understood. You just looked at the picture and it's still there with the Chinese program. The way the leaves stays green. Why do they stay green? Why don't they freeze? Have you asked yourself that question? Why the roots are short? Why the roots behave this way? There is no difference between the plant next door, which dies, or what do you call it, frost kills it. What has it changed? Nothing. The gans in the ground has created an environment around the plant that allows the temperature or the cold, what you call it, at a certain condition of the matter state to be as what's inside, so it does not affect. When you have a wind and a stone, you break the glass. When the pressure both sides is the same and you cannot create it because it's all the same, it won't do anything, it stays the same and it works the same. Understand a fundamental point in especially people who work in agriculture. The leaf is the skin for a gans of the entity of existence. No one works closer with the gans on a daily basis than the farmers, but they look at it as a matter state. And if the agriculturists start looking in the gans state, in the plasmatic state, in the structure of the plants, then you will find and you will tap into the energy source, food, magnetic field strength that it can give you everything without ever you growing anything. The teaching is becoming very, very direct, but very open. Now you understand why we kept on teaching the health, the agriculture, the material, the energy, and the plasma. Now, it was a good way, it's a correct way. Now you see the narrow-mindedness is not there. You're open, you see the everything, and you have to bring what you see in one place to another to educate yourself to understand the totality. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. That was very fantastic.
Yes, thank you.
I've seen all the comments on live stream. Thanking you for that as well.
No, we don't need to be thanked. We are here to learn from each other. But we have to understand the things we learn, the process we learn has to be the correct way. It is very hard